Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Sunday, February 1st, 2026. We are officially 1 month into the new year. And I have to say, just looking at the calendar, it feels like we're living in a completely different era compared to just a couple of years ago. Today, we are not just talking about tech in the abstract. We are talking about the engine that is, well, it's currently driving the entire creator economy. We're doing a deep dive into the explosion of the podcasting tech stack.
Explosion is, it's really the only word for it, isn't it? If you think back to, I don't know, the quaint old days of 2024, the barrier to entry was basically, can you afford a USB microphone? And, did you have the patience to learn a DAW like Audacity or GarageBand? It was a very manual, very linear process.
Simpler times. They really were. But we're so far beyond that now. I was looking at this report in Research and Markets about the AI-generated podcast host market. And just that specific niche, not the whole industry, just that AI hosting slice, has jumped from $1.2 billion in 2024 to, $1.57 billion now in early 2026.
Right. And that's a compound annual growth rate of over 30%. That is, that's tech bubble level growth, but it seems to be sustained.
But let's pause on that number for a second. $1.57 billion. That is a staggering amount of money flowing into something that, frankly, didn't really exist in any robust way 3 years ago. Why is that specific niche exploding? Is it just novelty? Is it just a gimmick?
I don't think it's novelty anymore. I think the projection, which, says we're hitting nearly $4.5 billion by 2029, that tells us this is structural. It's about scale. But the numbers, big as they are, they kind of obscure the real shift. The story isn't that there are more tools. The story is that the nature of the tools has fundamentally changed. We aren't talking about assistive tools anymore. We are talking about agentic AI.
Okay, agentic AI. I see this term popping up everywhere. In the 9CV9 reports, all over the tech blogs. It sounds impressive, but it also sounds a little bit like marketing fluff. So break that down for me. What is the actual difference between the AI we were using in 2024, the whole chatbot era, and this agentic era we're apparently in now?
Think of the AI from 2024 like a hammer. A very, very good hammer, a powerful tool. But a hammer sits on the table until you pick it up and you hit a specific nail. You have to prompt it. Write me a title, fix this audio, summarize this article. It's passive. You are the operator.
Right. You're giving it one command at a time.
Exactly. Agentic AI is not the hammer. It's the carpenter.
So it's the difference between a tool and a coworker.
Precisely. An agent doesn't just wait for a prompt. It understands a workflow. It has a goal. So if you tell an agentic system, prepare a podcast episode on climate change, it doesn't just write a script and stop. It goes out, it plans the workflow, it might update your CRM with potential guests it found, deploy the script to a teleprompter, and maybe even schedule the recording time on your calendar. It executes a whole chain of reasoning and action.
Wow, that is a fundamental shift. It moves us from how do I use this tool to how do I manage this employee.
Exactly. It's workflow orchestration. And that is really our mission for this deep dive. We have mountains of reports here from SonarWorks, Riverside, RWS, 9CV9. We are going to try and cut through the noise of the, 15 plus major players that are dominating 2026 and figure out how you can actually use this stuff without losing your soul in the process.
That is the risk, isn't it? That we optimize the human right out of the loop.
That is the danger, for sure. But interestingly, as we're going to see, the more the machines do, the more valuable the specific human element becomes.
Okay, let's get practical. I want to structure this chronologically. Let's imagine a podcaster. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah is smart, she's ambitious, but she has a day job, limited time. In 2024, Sarah's pre-production process was a nightmare of, 50 open tabs and frantic Googling. Let's look at Sarah's pre-production brain in 2026.
Sarah's life is very, very different now. The agentic shift is most visible right here in this research phase. In the past, research was a manual extraction process. You'd read an article, you'd highlight a sentence, you'd paste it into a doc. It was tedious. Now, Sarah is likely using a full funnel tool like OpenAI's ChatGPT.
And we have to address the elephant in the room. ChatGPT in late 2025, early 2026 is an absolute beast. 900 million weekly active users, $10 billion in annual recurring revenue. It's just huge. But for Sarah, the podcaster, why is it better than just Googling? What's the real advantage?
It really comes down to the integration of ProSearch and what they're calling the comment browser. Do you remember the big criticism of AI in the early days?
Hallucinations, absolutely. It would just confidently lie to you. It would invent court cases or make up quotes from people who never said them.
Right. It was a very creative writer, but it wasn't a fact checker. But Pro Search changed that dynamic because it integrates real-time web citations. So when Sarah asks ChatGPT to research a guest, the system isn't just predicting the next likely word based on training data from 2 years ago. It is actively browsing the live web. It's pulling from the guest's LinkedIn today, their book that was published yesterday, their tweets from this morning.
So it's grounding all of that creativity in verified current reality.
Exactly. It reduces the hallucination rate significantly because the output is tethered to a citation you can actually click and check.
That is a massive relief for a podcaster. There's nothing worse than asking a guest about a book they never wrote. But does this actually translate to better performance? Or is it just a time saver?
The metrics we're seeing suggest it's both. We're seeing data that podcasters who use ChatGPT across the entire life cycle, so brainstorming, scripting, guest research, all of it, are seeing a 10% higher engagement rate.
10% is significant. That's not a rounding error.
It's not. And the theory is that because Sarah isn't burning all her mental energy on the grunt work of just finding the facts, she has more bandwidth to think about the angle. She can focus on the narrative arc rather than the bibliography.
Speaking of narrative arcs and, really deep research, we have to talk about Google's Notebook LM. This is the tool that I feel really shifted the paradigm for how we consume information.
Notebook LM is a fascinating case study. It's powered by Gemini 2.5 or 3.0 Pro, depending on if you're a paid user. But the tech spec that really matters here is the context window. It's up to 2 million tokens.
Okay, hold on. 2 million tokens. We hear tokens thrown around a lot in tech circles. For the listener who isn't an LLM engineer, what does 2 million tokens actually look like? Is that a lot?
It's massive. It's almost hard to get your head around. To give you a visual, one token is roughly 3/4 of a word. 2 million tokens is about 1.5 million words. That's not just a long article. That is the equivalent of uploading the entire Harry Potter series, plus the Lord of the Rings trilogy, plus a huge stack of white papers, and still having room left over.
So Sarah can literally dump her entire bookshelf into this thing.
She can upload an entire archive, PDFs, raw interview transcripts, audio files, books, all of it. And the AI doesn't just search them like a keyword finder. It reads them all in parallel. It holds all that information in its working memory simultaneously.
And that leads to the feature that basically went viral, the audio overviews.
This is where it gets really meta. So Sarah uploads a dense 400-page academic study on behavioral economics. Instead of reading it, she hits a button, and Notebook LM generates a 15-minute high-fidelity audio conversation between two AI hosts discussing that specific PDF.
So it's AI making a podcast about the research for your podcast.
It sounds absurd, but think about the utility of that. Sarah has a commute. She can't read a PDF while she's driving, but she can listen to a simulated dialogue that breaks down the key arguments, questions the methodology, and highlights the interesting stats. It turns passive research materials into an active learning format.
It's personalized learning. It's essentially hiring a team of researchers to read the book for you and then summarize it over coffee.
Exactly. And unlike a generic summary you'd find online, it's based only on the documents you uploaded, so the risk of hallucination is incredibly low because it's a grounded model. It's not pulling from the wider internet, it's pulling from your personal library.
That is incredible for deep research. But what if Sarah needs speed? What if she has a guest booked in 20 minutes and she knows absolutely nothing about them?
Then she turns to a niche tool, something like Pod Outline. This is the opposite of the do-everything ChatGPT. It does one thing, and it does it very well.
Which is guest dossiers.
Right. They claim to reduce research time from hours to 30 seconds. You feed it a LinkedIn URL or a name, and it generates a cheat sheet. Background, recent achievements, any controversial opinions, and, this is the crucial part, icebreaker questions.
Okay, but here's my skepticism. If Sarah uses Pod Outline and I use Pod Outline, and we both interview the same guest, aren't we going to get the exact same unique icebreakers? Doesn't this just lead to a homogenization of interviews?
That is a very, very real risk. If everyone just relies on the default output, then yeah, every interview starts to sound the same. So I see you went to Stanford. The tool is only as good as the user's ability to pivot. The smart way to use Pod Outline is to get the facts and then use your human intuition to find the gap. The AI gives you the map, you still have to choose the destination.
So it prevents you from looking stupid, but it doesn't guarantee you'll look smart.
That's a great way to put it, yes.
And wrapping up this whole pre-production phase, you've got the nervous system of the operation, ClickUp.
Yes. Sarah needs a place to put all this stuff. And ClickUp isn't just a to-do list anymore. With ClickUp Brain for ideation and ClickUp Clips for quick screen recordings, It's becoming the command center because with all these separate AI agents, ChatGPT doing research, Notebook LM doing summaries, you need a central hub to orchestrate the workflow. Otherwise, you're just drowning in generated text.
Okay, so Sarah has her script. She has her research. She is prepared. Now she walks into the studio or, sits down at her desk. We are entering section 2, the studio experience.
This is where the rubber meets the road. And in 2026, the market has really split into two very different directions. You have the tools designed to capture human conversation, and then you have the tools designed to replace it.
Let's start with the human side, Riverside.fm. They've raised a war chest, $30 million in Series C, $80 million total. They're calling themselves the ultimate AI-powered tool for 2026. But at its core, isn't it still just a recording software?
It is, but the just is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. The foundation of Riverside is still technical reliability. They record local 4K video and 48 kilohertz uncompressed WAV audio.
Okay, I want to geek out on this for a second because I think people gloss over 48 kilohertz uncompressed WAV. Why does Sarah care about that? Why can't she just record a Zoom call and be done with it?
Because Zoom compresses audio to death. It chops off the high frequencies and the low frequencies to save bandwidth. It sounds thin. Yeah. Uncompressed WAV captures the full spectrum of the human voice. If you want that rich, deep NPR broadcast quality, you need all that data. And Riverside records it locally on Sarah's computer, not over the choppy internet connection.
That's the progressive upload feature, right?
Yes. While Sarah's talking, the file is uploading in the background, piece by piece. So if her internet crashes 5 minutes into the interview, the recording on her hard drive is safe. It completely eliminates that stomach-dropping moment of losing an hour-long interview to a glitch.
So the foundation is solid. But what are the AI bells and whistles they've added with that funding?
This is where they justify that $80 million. Features like Smart Mute.
How smart is it, really?
It's smart enough to distinguish between, of agreement from a guest and a dog barking in their background. It automatically silences the track of the person who isn't speaking. This sounds minor, but in post-production, bleed, where the guest's voice leaks into the host's microphone, is an absolute nightmare to fix. Riverside prevents it at the source.
And magic clips.
That's their viral engine. It analyzes the conversation in real time and identifies the most engaging, shareable moments and automatically marks them for you.
Yeah.
It's trying to shorten the distance between record and publish to TikTok.
Then you have Podcastle. I've always seen Podcastle as the friendly bridge. It's not as hardcore as a full DAW, but it's more powerful than a simple voice memo app.
Podcastle is a hybrid for sure. It sits right between Riverside for recording and a full editor like Descript. Their flagship AI feature is called Magic Dust.
Magic Dust. It sounds like something Disney would sue them over. What is it actually doing?
It's generative audio cleanup. It's not just an equalizer turning down the bass or a simple noise gate. It's using AI to identify noise fans, traffic, echo, and remove it, while simultaneously boosting the presence and clarity of the voice. It's a one-click audio engineer.
But I have to ask, does it sound natural? Because I've used some of these enhanced tools before, and sometimes they just make you sound like a robot in a vacuum chamber.
That is the trade-off. In 2024, those tools were pretty rough. In 2026, they are much, much better, but they can still be aggressive. If you laugh too loud or if you whisper, the AI sometimes gets confused and tries to fix it. It's great for a consistent level-speaking voice, but it can struggle with high dynamic range emotion.
So use with caution. Now let's pivot to the other side of the studio, the side where Sarah doesn't even need to show up, the rise of the AI host.
This is the controversial frontier. We are seeing platforms like Wondercraft and ElevenLabs enabling fully synthetic podcasts.
ElevenLabs is everywhere, and Wondercraft actually uses their tech, right? They're built on top of it.
Yes, Wondercraft powers its entire voice library with ElevenLabs, and the scale is just staggering. They have over 10,000 users who have generated more than 15,000 hours of audio. That's nearly 2 years of continuous listening created entirely out of thin air.
And the quality.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the GPS voice in your car anymore.
No, not at all. We are talking about hyper-realistic voices. You can script a podcast to be hosted by a pirate, a seething meditation guide, or, and this is the big one, a clone of yourself.
A clone, so Sarah can just type her script, hit a button, and AI Sarah reads it perfectly.
Exactly. And AI Sarah never stumbles, never needs a drink of water, and never, ever has a sore throat.
But this just opens a Pandora's box of legal and ethical nightmares. I was reading about this psychology professor scenario in the legal scholarship repository. This gave me chills.
It should. It's a terrifying precedent. Imagine a renowned psychology professor. She has spent 30 years writing books, giving lectures, building a very specific trusted persona. A third party, maybe a student, maybe a tech company, feeds all of her public audio into a model. They create a professor bot.
And they just release it.
They release it. And now you can go to a website and ask the professor for advice. It answers in her voice, using her theories, with her exact inflection. But she didn't consent. She isn't getting paid. And worse, if the bot gives bad advice, her reputation takes the hit.
It's identity theft on a massive, massive scale. We've seen this happen with real people, right? Martin Seligman and Esther Perel had replicas made without permission.
Yes, and the legal system is just scrambling to catch up. We have things like the No Fakes Act, which is a legislative attempt to provide recourse for unauthorized digital replicas. But the internet is global. If the server hosting the clone is in a jurisdiction that doesn't care about U.S. copyright law, what can you do?
It's a game of whack-a-mole. And it raises this fundamental question. Do you own your voice? Is your sound a piece of intellectual property?
It absolutely is, or at least it should be. But until the laws are solidified, we are in the Wild West.
Okay, let's assume Sarah is real. She has recorded her episode, and she has avoided being cloned by a pirate. Now she has to edit the thing. Section 3. The edit.
Post-production. Traditionally, this is the bottleneck. For every hour of recording, you might spend 3 to 4 hours editing. It's a huge time sink.
And Descript is the 800-pound gorilla here. $55 million in ARR, growing 75% year over year. They completely changed the mental model of editing.
They did. They moved us from waveform editing to text-based editing. If you want to delete a sentence, you don't hunt for the little squiggle of a sound wave. You just highlight the text in the transcript and hit backspace. It made editing accessible to writers and people who weren't audio engineers.
But now they have underlords.
Underlords. It's a great name for an AI suite, I have to say. It handles all the tedious stuff. It removes filler words, the ums, ahs, and you knows. It generates social clips. But the feature that creeps people out the most is the eye contact correction.
Oh, this one triggers my uncanny valley reflex hard.
It's intended to be helpful, right? If Sarah is reading a script on her laptop, her eyes are looking down, away from the camera. The AI can digitally shift her pupils so it looks like she is staring directly into the camera lens the whole time.
But does it actually work? Or does it just look like she's a sociopath who never blinks?
That is the debate. There's such a fine line between engaged and predatory stare. The AI is getting better at adding micro movements and natural blinks so it doesn't look like a painting, but it's still a heavy, heavy manipulation of reality.
And speaking of reality, let's talk about the biggest pain point in editing. We looked at a bunch of Reddit threads from 2026, and editors aren't complaining about color grading or EQ, they're complaining about discovery.
The needle in the haystack problem. Yes, if you record a 2-hour interview, you might only want to publish 45 minutes of it. Or maybe you need 3 60-second clips for TikTok. Finding those moments used to require watching the entire 2 hours in real time with a notepad.
That is just soul-crushing work.
It is. So tools like Vizard AI and Opus Clip are now acting as highlight miners. They scan the transcript and the video analysis to find potential viral moments.
How do they even know it's viral? What are they looking for?
They look for patterns. High energy in the voice, laughter, rapid cuts in conversation, keywords that are trending on social media. It's all pattern recognition.
But here is the user pushback we saw on the forums. If the AI is deciding what is good, doesn't it just pick the loudest, most clickbaity moments? Doesn't it miss the quiet, profound statement?
Exactly. The criticism is that AI has no sense of slow burn or emotional nuance. It flattens creative judgment. The consensus from the pro editors is pretty clear. Use AI to find the candidates, but never let it make the final cut. You need a human to understand the rhythm, the pacing, and the context.
So it's a rough draft tool, not a final cut tool.
Precisely. It's an assistant editor, a very fast one, but it's not the director.
And for the final polish, we have tools like Auphonic and Adobe Podcast Studio.
Auphonic is an absolute lifesaver for people who don't understand the technical side of audio engineering. Its adaptive leveling is the killer feature.
Explain that. What does that do?
Imagine Sarah is on a professional studio mic, and her guest is calling in from their kitchen using their laptop microphone. Sarah is loud and bassy. The guest is quiet and echoey. If you listen to that in a car, you're constantly turning the volume up and down. Auphonic balances them out automatically so they sound like they are in the same room.
And Adobe has Mic Check AI, which is more preventative.
Right. It analyzes your hardware setup before you even hit record. It will tell you, hey, you were too close to the mic, or there's too much gain and you're going to clip. It's like having a sound guy in your ear during setup.
So Sarah has a polished, edited, leveled podcast. In the old days, she'd upload it and hope people in her country listened. But in 2026, we are going global. Section 4, the vodcast explosion and dubbing.
This is where the economics of podcasting are shifting dramatically. Video is completely non-negotiable now, and Hagen is the titan here. They hit a valuation of $3.3 billion by early 2025.
That is a staggering number for a video tool. What is driving that valuation?
It's their Avatar 4 engine and their dubbing capabilities. Let's talk about the dubbing first. Traditionally, if Sarah wanted to release her podcast in Spanish, what would she have to do?
Oh man, she'd have to hire a translator to write a new script, then hire a Spanish voice actor, then book studio time for them, then have an editor sync the new Spanish audio to her original video. It would take weeks and cost thousands of dollars.
Exactly. It was prohibitively expensive for anyone but a major studio. The report from RWS on the economics of dubbing shows that AI has cut that cost by up to 90%.
90%. That is not a margin improvement. That is a fundamental disruption.
It creates a brand new market. Now, Sarah can upload her English episode to Hagen. The AI translates it. It clones Sarah's voice, so she sounds like herself, but speaking fluent, perfect Spanish. And this is the Avatar 4 magic. It re-renders her lips.
The lip sync, this is the part that just blows my mind every time I see it.
It's crucial. It matches the visame, the shape of the mouth, to the new phonemes of the target language. So when Spanish Sarah says, hola, her mouth actually forms the shape for hola. It completely eliminates that bad kung fu movie effect where the audio doesn't match the lips at all.
So the viewer's brain just accepts it as reality.
Yes. And suddenly, Sarah's total addressable market isn't just English speakers, it's the entire world. The AI video dubbing market is projected to reach nearly $400 million by 2032, growing at 44% a year. It's exploding.
But is there a quality trade-off here? We talked about latency earlier. Does that come into play?
There is always a trade-off. The 9CV9 report highlighted this battle between speed and emotion. You have models like Cartesia Sonic Turbo. It has an incredibly low latency. We're talking 40 milliseconds.
40 milliseconds. That is faster than a human blink.
It is. It's fast enough for a live, two-way conversation with an AI without any perceptible lag. But to get that speed, you have to sacrifice some of the emotional depth. It might sound a little bit flatter.
And on the other side of that coin,
you have models like ElevenLabs Expressive. The latency is much higher, 300 milliseconds or more. That feels like a bad satellite delay on the news. You can't really interrupt it easily. But the emotional realism is stunning. It can whisper, it can crack with emotion, it can shout with excitement.
So if you are telling a story, you want ElevenLabs. If you are building a customer service bot, you want Cartesia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sarah has to choose the right engine for the right format.
This brings us to the final and perhaps the most important section, Section 5. We have all these incredible superpowers. We can clone ourselves, we can speak languages we don't know, we can edit with our eyes. But how does this all feel? We need to talk about ethics, anxiety, and the human in the loop.
The hangover after the tech party. SonarWorks surveyed over 1,100 producers in January of this year. These are the people in the trenches doing the work every day, and the mood is cautious. Very cautious.
What are they afraid of? Is it just job loss? Are they worried the robots are coming for their editing jobs?
Surprisingly, job loss isn't the #1 fear. The top concern by a wide margin is originality. There's this deep-seated fear of the beigification of content.
Beigification, I like that word. It really implies a blandness.
It's perfect, isn't it? If everyone uses the same AI to brainstorm topics, the same AI to write the script, the same AI to edit the pacing, and the same AI voice to read it, everything just converges toward the mean. It all starts to sound palatable but generic.
It's the Spotify background music effect applied to human speech. It's technically perfect but completely boring.
Right, and producers are saying, give me tools to fix the technical problems, but don't give me tools that make creative decisions for me. They want to protect the spark.
And then there's the trust issue. The RWS report talks about the importance of HITL, human in the loop.
This is the gold standard for high-end production now. You don't just let the AI run wild and publish whatever it spits out. You have checkpoints. First, a script review by a human linguist to ensure the translation isn't just literal, but that it's actually cultural. Second, a cultural review by a native expert to make sure you aren't accidentally saying something offensive or nonsensical in the target market. And third, a quality review by an editor to fix the little glitches and weird artifacts.
So the AI does the heavy lifting, maybe 90% of the work. but the human does the crucial steering and final polish. They call this genuine intelligence.
Which is a very clever rebrand. It's saying the value isn't just in the artificial generation, it's in the curation and the verification.
And we can't ignore the security aspect of this. If I can clone Sarah's voice so perfectly, how does she prove it's really her when she needs to? Or prove a fake isn't her?
We are seeing an arms race here, for sure. Companies like Resemble AI have tools like Resemble Detect to analyze audio and flag deepfakes. They are also pushing for an industry standard called Perth watermarking.
How does that work? Is it something you can hear?
No, it's imperceptible to the human ear. It embeds an audio signal into the file that identifies it as AI generated. It's like a digital fingerprint. So if a platform like YouTube or Spotify detects that fingerprint, it can automatically label the content synthetic audio.
And what about on the front end? How do you stop people from making the clones in the first place?
Well, companies like DubDub are focusing on the input side. They require signed consent uploads. You can't just upload a YouTube clip of Barack Obama and clone him. You have to upload a specific verbal consent statement recorded by the voice owner, proving you have permission.
It adds friction to the process, but it's necessary friction.
It absolutely is. And even with all of that, we have the slop problem. The podcast index has flagged over 10,000 low-quality AI feeds, just pure spam. Bots talking to bots about generated topics to try and farm ad revenue.
It's the junk mail of the audio world.
It is. And now directories are having to build AI native stacks just to filter all this sludge out so that human listeners can find the actual human content.
So we've covered a lot of ground, from agentic research to uncompressed recording, from underlord editing to global dubbing. Let's try to bring it all together. What is the synthesis here? What's the big picture for 2026?
The trajectory is crystal clear. We have moved from simple individual tools in 2024 to an ecosystem of interconnected agents in 2026. The technical barriers to entry are basically gone. Anyone can sound professional. Anyone can go global overnight.
But the profitability paradox still remains. That 9CV9 report points out that while the ad market is now $5 billion, it's incredibly top-heavy. Only 4% of creators are earning a living wage over $100K.
That is the big reality check. The tools are better, but the competition is fiercer than ever. The argument is that AI is the lever to help you join that 4%. It allows a solo creator to have the output of a 10-person production studio.
But only if you use it strategically. If you just use it to be average but faster, you just drown in the slop with everyone else.
Exactly. You have to use the time it saves you to be more creative, not just more productive.
I want to leave the listener with a final thought here. We've talked about how AI can do almost everything. It can research for you, write your script, be your voice, edit your video, and translate you into 175 languages. If an AI can do all of that, at what point does the host become the guest in their own show?
That is the existential question, isn't it? If your value is just reading a script clearly, you are replaceable. But if your value is your unique perspective, your messy humanity, your ability to connect dots that an algorithm wouldn't see, then you are safer and more valuable than ever.
Because in a world of perfect, synthetic, beige content, the glitchy, unpredictable, authentic human might actually be the premium product.
I think that's exactly where we are heading. The human touch is becoming the new luxury good.
We will leave you with that to mull over. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.
See you then.